Welcome once again to Commander by Danon. Today we continue building decks led by the legendary creatures from the Final Fantasy set. Yes, I know that Ninja Turtles has been announced and spoilers for Avatar are coming, but I don't care. I like Final Fantasy more. Anyway, leading today's deck is the tragic figure, General Leo Cristophe. Also, and I know it's annoying to keep hearing this, but statistically if I don't ask you to like and subscribe, the video gets fewer subscribers. General Leo Cristophe is a 5-mana 2/2 legendary human soldier. When he enters, we return up to one target creature card with mana value 3 or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. Then we put a +1/+1 counter on Leo for each creature we control. The Gestalt Empire had 4 main figures. 4 is important in Japanese culture. Remember, Japan had Shintoism but also Buddhism and Taoism as well as Christianity later on, and a lot of their media is based on a mix of those beliefs. The 4 Heavenly Kings is a Buddhist belief about 4 gods, or devas, who governed the 4 cardinal directions. To twist that, you see a lot of demon kings in fantasy manga who have 4 Heavenly Kings. Sometimes these Heavenly Kings are tied to elemental powers. The 4 elemental lords from Final Fantasy IV are an example of this. Anyway, Leo was one of the 4 figures serving under Emperor Gestalt, with the other 3 being the scientist Cid, fellow General Celeste, and the magician Kefka. Both Kefka and Celeste were imbued with magical powers by Cid, but Leo never underwent that process. Despite that, he was considered the strongest. He was also a man of honor. His flavor text is a quote from the first time we met him, back when he was laying siege to Doma. While Leo never actually joins the party, he does become an ally and a playable character. Well, for one fight at least. We face off against Kefka after he shows up and ruins everything again. And while it seems that Leo defeats him at first, Kefka was only pretending to be defeated, and kills Leo. Now, back in the 90s, there was a rumor of a secret way to resurrect Leo and have him join your party, but I think that was just a rumor. But now, we can play him as a commander. Leo encourages a go-wide strategy, so that is what we'll be focusing on. Additionally, this is almost a budget deck. We're at $107 at the time of recording. That's due to our win con. Don't worry, we'll talk about it soon. But before we get to our deck list, a quick word from new sponsor, MythAtom. If you need a boost to your coffee while weakening your enemies, pick up this Elish Norn Mother of Machines thermal travel mug. Link down below, and don't forget to use code DANON for a 10% discount on your order. In order to build a functional commander deck, you need lots of different pieces, which is why I try to rely on my handy-dandy checklist. 50 mana sources, usually split between 37 lands and 13 pieces of ramp, 10 pieces of card advantage, 8 to 10 pieces of spot removal, 2 to 3 board wipes, 2 pieces of graveyard hate, and 1 sudden I win card. Oh, one more quick announcement before we get started. I'm currently streaming over on Gaming with Danon as well as Twitch. It'll mostly be Final Fantasy XIV, but you're more than welcome to pop in and talk about Commander. Honestly, about half my streams are talking about manga, anime, or Commander. For utility lands, we're running War Room, Rogue's Passage, Bonder's Enclave, and Scavenger Grounds. Card draw, graveyard hate, and a way to get in some commander damage. For basics, we've got 33 planes. Some people complain about basics, but I'm old school. Basics mean we can use our lands to cast our spells, and they come into play untapped. Moving on to mana ramp, we've got Knight of the White Orchid, Keeper of the Accord, Wayfarer's Bauble, and Solemn Simulacrum, all of which help us to put extra lands onto the battlefield. Meanwhile, Oketra's Monument, Pearl Medallion, and Herald's Horn all help us to lower the cost of our spells. Finally, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Marble Diamond, Mind Stone, Felwar Stone, Gilded Lotus, Thrawn Dynamo, and Patchwork Banner serve as mana rocks. A good mix of land ramp, cost reduction, and mana rocks. For consistent card advantage, we've got Mentor of the Meek, Lauren of the Third Path, Welcoming Vampire, Thraben Inspector, Vanquisher's Banner, Dawn of a New Age, and Weathered Wayfarer. Yes, searching our library for a land and putting it into our hand is card advantage and not ramp. For some reanimation effects, we're running Brought Back, Sun Titan, and Ascend from Avernus. I try to put a bit of reanimation into all my decks just because it's valuable. Our interaction and spot removal package consists of Cathar Commando, Boromir, Warden of the Tower, Lawson Arc Captain, Loyal Sentry, and Thalia, Heretic Cathar. Some stacks, some removal, but all creatures that work well with our commander. Of course, we're also running Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, Generous Gift, Vanish into Eternity, Fragmentize, Godsend, and Darksteel Mutation. Lots of ways to get rid of annoying permanents. For board wipes, we're running Wrath of God, Farewell, Austere Command, and Martial Coup. Some flexible options and some reset buttons. The core of our deck consists of Ephemerate, Justiciar's Portal, Graceful Reprieval, Bastion Protector, and Swiftfoot Boots. Flicker effects as well as ways to protect our commander. To help grow our army, we've got Coppercoat Vanguard, Glorious Anthem, Field Marshal, and Coat of Arms. Finally, to create an army, we've got Adeline Resplendent Cathar, Evangel of Heliod, Darien, King of Keldor, Thalia's Lieutenant, Call the Coppercoats, Raise the Alarm, Captain's Call, Sworn Companions, Legion Loyalty, Elspeth, Sun's Champion, Horn of Gondor, and Finale of Glory. Lots of ways to ensure we have an army of soldiers for our general to command. Now that we have our deck list, let's compare it to our checklist. 52 mana sources split between 37 lands and 15 pieces of ramp. 13 pieces of card advantage, counting our commander and lands. 12 pieces of interaction. 4 board wipes. 2 pieces of graveyard hate in Farewell and Scavenger Grounds. 1 sudden I win card in Coat of Arms. Remember, Coat of Arms doesn't just affect your creatures. It affects all creatures. Fortunately, soldiers aren't exactly the most common Kindred deck, so it's a bit easier to justify a card like this. But I've seen people lose when it hits the table, so be careful. On the flip side, we could cast a giant Martial Coup, wipe the board, wind up with a ton of tokens, then cast Coat of Arms on the next turn, which would be hilarious. Do you have a General Leo Cristophe deck? What about a go-wide deck? Who's your commander? Leave a comment below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor cutestuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. You can have a video made or just ask for help building or tuning a deck list. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Alix, Borgie, Congo, Robert Pye, Kazaris, Patrick, Tiz, Art, Richard Sint, Boomy, Osser, Justin, Golden Walker, Captain Hammer, Yori Sleech, Zach, Mr. Salty, and Hua. You guys are awesome. I post new Commander Deck videos every weekday, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Commander by Danon.